Okay, so we're going to take this on 3,000 mile-ish road trip. Front end's got some clunks in it. Nothing super bad, but enough that probably suspension's worn, needs to be replaced, parts of it. I, in particular, when I do front ends, when I do bushings, any of that stuff, I try to be very particular on struts. I really like the Bilstein yellows. If I can't do Bilstein yellows, I do like Excel or KYBs or, whatever, like name brand parts, not off brand stuff. On this, I will be installing new strut cap, top cap. This actually isn't a strut cap. There's no bearing in it. Reusing the factory coil, Bilstein strut. I have a complete power stop brake kit for this because the brakes are about shot. Rotors are super groove. Pads are just about gone. Got a deal on a strut kit. I've bought all new joints, whatever you want to call them, upper control arm, lower control arm, strut arm, or whatever it's called for the front end of this. But instead of using factory bushings or cheap bushings that would have came in most of this stuff, I have swapped everything out to white line. So burn the bushings out, press out the old sleeves, press in new sleeves, press in the new bushing, press in the new bushing insert. There's this white grease that comes with it that you got to use. Use the hell out of it. Just trust me. These bushings are great. We've installed them in my buddy's 4Runner that he does not drive a whole lot and it sits around a whole lot, where these are very similar to call like energy suspension bushings. They're going to last a long time, but there's PTFE and other things in this. So the bushings are not the same as energy suspension. These are softer, they last longer, they don't deteriorate the same way, they don't get a squeak. You don't have to tear them apart and re-grease them the way they do their bushings. On the inside sleeve of the pivot, there is like a crosshatch pattern, kind of like a crosshatch you'd see in a cylinder. And it's dimpled, so when you put the grease in there, you slide that in, there's still grease on the inside of that, unlike in energy suspension when you push it in and just whatever grease stayed in there is all you get. So I'm going to rip pretty much all this apart. I got a new lower ball joint to throw in. I bought it's a TTX is the line, but I forget the brand. I don't remember if it's Torque, TRQ, or if it's something else. But I've had very good luck with this TTX line from them. It's their extreme line. All their stuff is coated, so it's not bare steel. It's one thing I like about it. All of them have greasable joints, so it is definitely a higher end joint. It's coated, it's knurled like the Problem Solvers used to be for Moog. I'm not sure if Problem Solvers still are for Moog. I've not had good luck with Moog in last 6 years, 8 years. I'm not for sure what changed at Moog, but I've steered clear of them. Nothing I buy from them hardly anymore lasts very long. So I'm going to get to ripping this apart now. Pretty much all the old parts are going away, and you're just going to be seeing me tearing everything down, and then we'll pull the strut, we'll disassemble the strut, go from there, and show you how I do that and everything. So I use deep sockets whenever possible because deep sockets work on everything as long as there's clearance. So if it's a stud when you're ripping it apart, or if it's a nut or a bolt, a deep will work as long as you have clearance on the backside. If there's not very much clearance, I will either use shallows. I also have semi-deeps, which I think that's what everybody calls them, is semi-deeps. I've always called them mid-sockets. So they are not shallows, but not deeps, which is why I call them mid. So example, shallow, mid, deep, semi-deep, or whatever they call these. In a bind, if like I can only take one thing of sockets, I usually take my mids. If I can take what I want, I'll take all three. Because there's times where a mid won't fit and you got to use shallow. If you get on certain studs, there's time mids won't fit and you got to have a deep. But the majority of things, deep and shallow works. These mid sockets, I've had them since I was a kid. Craftsman used to make them. I'm not sure if they still make them anymore, but I ran those for years and loved them. And I could never get them in an impact. And then I want to say those are Aries or Capri tools is who makes those. And I really like them and use them quite often. For swivel sockets, I have an old school set of Macs. Shoot. They're an old school set of Macs. So the old Mac impact swivels were square drive, meaning they're pinless and they use a square shank. And there's companies that are now doing it. And I'm trying to find who does them now, because I would love to buy another set because mine are old and worn. And if you get them warrantied, they replace them with a pinned one. So I don't want to get any of them warrantied. As for ratchets, I try to use long handles whenever possible because it's just easier on you. You just have more leverage. For my ratchets, dude, they are just Harbor Freight Pittsburgh. I have an Icon, I have a Quinn, but I really like the flex head and like long handles. So you can tell here from the picture, those are not flat. There's a decent lip on them. They're grooved all the way around. They were that way when I got it. So time for new ones. Power stop kits are hard to beat. Ratchet wrenches, there's a million different brands now. What I've learned about ratchet wrenches over the years is higher end ratchet wrenches. I really like, so the flat ones, I don't care about. They're reversible. You just flip them whatever direction. Angled ones, I want all the angled ones to have a switch. Now what I've learned about them over the years is high-end ones work better than low-end ones. You can apply more force on them. They don't break. Right now what I'm doing is taking out the wheel speed sensor because I'm going to pull this entire knuckle assembly off. So everything that connects to the knuckle assembly I'm disconnecting. Well, that brings up a whole nother thing. Knuckles are spindles. And how I differentiate them is if they're separated brakes or non-separated brakes. If they are separated brakes, i.e. like what the old four-wheel drive systems were, then your rotor comes off, you have a hub assembly. That is a knuckle because you can take the hub off, there's no spindle sticking out. Two-wheel drive stuff with non-separated brakes, meaning spindle is sticking out and you have to put everything together on there, that is a spindle, not a knuckle. That is how I differentiate what is what. Impact stuff, pretty much, if you're a professional, you know, everybody's got what they like. For run-of-the-mill guy, that you're just doing this at home, buy whatever you can. My outlook on the tool is there's cheap Harbor Freight stuff that works. There is cheap Harbor Freight stuff that doesn't work. And you only learn that by doing it. There's certain things I'll buy that are Harbor Freight that I do not mind. Like their ratchets. I like their ratchets. They don't bother me. So I will use their ratchets. If I snap one, break the gears in it, anything like that, I have a Harbor Freight 5 miles away from me. It does not take me long to get there. Most of them carry everything I use in stock, where it's not really a big deal. It's not an 18, that was a 21. So I also have 2 or 3 of everything, where it's not, that's why, a huge ordeal if I need to go grab one, or I usually have a spare. A lot of my other tools, if you on tools, you should buy the best thing that you can. So if you can afford Snap-on, more power to you, do it. They're good tools, but I believe there are other good companies out there. A lot of people that Mac or Matco, let's go with Matco. So most people, Matco is another tool truck brand that people buy. The thing about Matco is a tool supplier, not a tool manufacturer. So everything you're buying from Matco is rebranded other tools. So most of their sockets are made by Sunex. You can get on Sunex's website and you can buy the stuff cheaper than you can off the Matco truck. Matco sockets are rebranded Sunex. You can get on Sunex and literally buy the exact same sockets for cheaper. So if I can buy the same thing for less and it's the same product, why do you pay more? Now, on that note, a lot of my half-inch drive stuff is Harbor Freight. What sucks about the Harbor Freight stuff is a lot of their sockets skip. So it is you're not going to get a 17 or an 18 or a 16 or something along those lines if you're buying just the metric set. And it's just annoying and it sucks. The Icon stuff, usually those don't skip. But I believe that Icon line is about the same price as what I can buy Sun-X and some other brands for. And so that kind of, to me, defeats the purpose of the inexpensiveness of Harbor Freight. Because if I can go buy the Sun-X name brand, why am I going to buy the off-brand? And I'm really going to be surprised to see what happens with the tariffs and what a lot of stuff goes up to. But that's just all in time. We'll have to see what happens. Ball joints, steering joints, ball peen hammer, and they usually pop out. Yes, there are tools, the splitters that do those. I've never had that good of luck with them. Oh, I forgot the top one. I haven't had very good luck with them, which is why I don't really have any of them. Because I have issues. That right there is what I do most of the time. But so I say buy whatever you're able to get for yourself that allows you to do what you're trying to do. There's a lot of tool brands out there. Was it that Vice Get Garage and Tony Angelo use Box, B-O-X-A, Boxa, like 100%. I bet those are good tools. But man, they're pricey for the kit. But it's a very, very complete kit. A lot of their stuff is molded. It's in a case. You don't have to worry about it. Like, it's just there and it works. So I understand the usefulness that a lot of people use. But it's pricey and I'm cheap. You know, a lot of people want to frown on Harbor Freight or frown on the other brands of stuff. Dude, a lot of it, I believe, comes down to people that are good with their tools. I don't think a whole lot has to do with what tool there is. I think a lot of it has to do with how good you are with tools. And definitely, you're good with tools. Man, I've pulled myself out of some jams with, you know, tools that came with you know, some little kit, you know, a 9/16 it's that long. If that's what you got and it's able to get you home, like yeah, it's a crappy tool, but it worked. So a lot of that has to do with how good you are at using them. Can you figure out how to do stuff, things along those lines. Some other tools I really like the gray pneumatic stuff for impact sockets. Their sets are pretty reasonably priced, and they for impact extensions in general, I like locking extensions. So I try not to buy anything other than locking extensions. Harbor Freight, their Pittsburgh locking extensions, I have 2 sets of them because I use them that much. What you have to do on the Harbor Freight ones, or for impact, I use the gear wrench, which are these, and these are the Harbor Freights. On the Harbor Freights, you got to tighten up that little like T8 or T10 Torx bit. On these, they just have a pin that goes in, and they have a rubber boot that slides over this. Rubber boots, when you shove these in small places, will get pushed and they roll off, and then you lose the pin and all this other kind of stuff. So I have some big 3-to-1 heat shrink, and I just cut it down, and I just heat shrink over them, and then I don't have to worry about the pins going. But these just lock the balls into place. It just makes it where my sockets don't fall off when you shove them into a hole. Works really good. I quite enjoy them. Oh, it's on the bottom of the side. Yes, I can use the ratchet. I do not have to use the ratchet wrench. Yay. I have the locking extensions in 1/4 inch, and those are Sunex, because I couldn't find anybody else that made them that was reasonably priced. As for electric tools, for the 12-volt stuff, I love my Milwaukee. They work really good. I've had those ratchets for a long time. I buy the cheap off-brand batteries because, again, I'm cheap. And for 18-volt stuff, I had rigid prior to start buying electric impacts like 1/2 inch drive, 3/8 drive, stuff like that. My saw's all impact drill, 1/4 inch hex bit impact, and my drill, they were 18-volt Milwaukee or 18-volt rigid. They were inexpensive when I bought them. They work great. I didn't want to get rid of them. I bought, a newer version of this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Then they started coming out with the impacts. When they started coming out with the impacts and everything, I just bought them because I already own the batteries and I didn't want another 18-volt battery setup. And I would have ended up with 1/4 of the tools to, if I would have tried to stay with Milwaukee for the exact same price of all my rigid. So to me, it was simplicity and price. I just stayed with rigid. I don't have any complaints against them. I like them. They work good. So why replace it if it ain't broke? So I didn't have to spend a whole bunch of extra money buying all that stuff in Milwaukee. And I just keep using my rigid and it all works. Now, something I've ran into, for some reason, those are not the correct size. So I had to order new control arms. Now you can see here, that bushing is angled and weird. And this one is starting to separate and crack right down in here, which is why I'm starting to replace this stuff. All this stuff I'm replacing it with is cheap Amazon stuff or eBay stuff, whatever you want to call it. And then I just put high-end bushings in it. And I don't have to worry about it. And that really stinks because I can't get my 18 on that. And I'm not even going to be able to get a stubby on that. Well, crap. But I really like how this thing drives. My kids love how much room is in the back seat. My wife loves it because it has heated seats, which means I turn the AC down and she just turns the heated seat on and puts a blanket on her. And then she's not nearly as cold.
Also good for my back.
And she says it's good for her back. So everything I'm replacing other than the strut and upper control arm are now off, which both these I have to do from up top. And now the strut's on the ground. And that strut had been replaced. That is a KYB XLG, which is when I can't afford Bilsteins, usually what I buy, and they last a relatively decent amount of time. And to get this control arm nut I have to remove the overflow, which I was not planning on doing, but I guess I'm gonna have to. That was fun to get to. Yay. Control arm's out. All I got left out of the old parts is to swap out the ball joint. And I really hope this comes out somewhat easy. And I don't think it's going to. Okay. So we're going to go a little old school on this. I had done this on the other side already, so I was kind of expecting it. My ball joint press that I have is not working super great for the way this is set up, the angle that it's at, the way it's all done. So I am going to heat the hell out of this arm, and then I can drive it out with the air hammer, which is what I did with the other one. Oh!
Will he get this ball joint out? Tune in next week to find out.